Shalom and welcome back to Israel with Aline. Today Israel is in mourning. Why? Because of the fulfillment of biblical prophecies. Yes, because of prophecies that have already been fulfilled, and in just a few moments we will see the crowd starting to come down to Jerusalem to weep and mourn. Some of the people who are arriving are taking off their shoes. Some are already arriving here barefoot, with torn clothes, fasting. Come with me to understand why all of Israel is in mourning today. A deep biblical mourning. Come with me to understand what Tisha B'Av really is. So if you are ready, let's get started. We are entering through the Damascus gate, and it's now 9 o'clock at night, and we can see people starting to arrive. But the peak of mourning will actually be in the early hours of the morning, as we will see. We just arrived at the Wailing Wall, and you can already feel how the atmosphere is changing. How the atmosphere is growing heavy and tense. And this is just the beginning. Guys, we're right at the start of everything that's about to happen, and you'll see that this whole area will be completely packed in no time. There won't even be room to move here at the Western Wall. And we'll see how the people of Israel's usual joy is turning into mourning. And we'll see people crying, lamenting. We'll see people literally tearing their clothes or with their clothes already torn. And we are about to witness all of this together. And then I want to show you more places where we can see the pain of this day. But before I show you everything that's happening, we need to understand why the people of Israel are in mourning. Because today is the worst and most tragic day in the entire Jewish calendar, in all of Jewish history. So let's go together and understand what's happening and why. Today is Tisha B'Av, which means the 9th day of the month of Av, according to the Jewish calendar. In the calendar still used today in Israel, this is a fixed date. However, if we look and compare it with the Gregorian calendar, the date can change from year to year. And now I'm going to show you on the screen the dates for the following years for those who want to follow along. But what is it about this day that makes people come here? Literally sit on the ground and lament? This day is observed this way because on the 9th day of the month of Av, the great calamities, disasters, and curses that befell the people of Israel happened throughout their history. Imagine a single day when all the most terrible things happened to the people of Israel. We can look back to biblical times. The first and second temples of Jerusalem were both destroyed on the same date, on the 9th day of the month of Av. And not only did calamities and curses from biblical times happen on Tisha B'Av, terrible things continued and still continue to happen on this date. Many expulsions of the people of Israel happened on the 9th day of the month of Aviv. In 1290, the Jews were expelled from England. Then in 1306 from France. And in 1492, the Alhambra decree was issued, which expelled the Jews from Spain. And after a few years as well, this decree is extended to Portugal. And on the 9th of Av in 1914, it begins the First World War, which was a calamity, a tragedy not only for the people of Israel, but for a large part of the world's population, especially for those who were in Europe. But we have to understand the importance of the First World War because it paved the way. It is a direct factor, a cause of the Second World War. And we know very well what happened in the Second World War. Well, on the 9th of Av, in 1941, right in the middle of World War II, on this date, the plan called the Final Solution was approved, which is the plan for the complete extermination of the people of Israel. It includes the extermination camps, the gas chambers, everything we know about the Holocaust. It started with this vote, with this plan, on the 9th of Av, 1941. And it ended with the extermination of 1/3 of all the Jews in the world, not just from Germany and Europe. 1/3 of all the Jews in the world were killed precisely through this plan. And everything we've talked about is just a small part of the tragedies that happened to the people of Israel precisely on this date. But now what I want to do together with you is to go into the women's section and understand in practical terms what is happening, how this mourning is also shown physically. Come with me. The mourning of this day is marked by 5 signs. The first and main one is a fast. A complete fast of 25 hours. 25 hours without eating or drinking anything. And people also abstain from many physical things like taking a bath, putting oil and lotion on their bodies, and wearing leather shoes. Because in ancient times, leather shoes were considered a luxury item, something very comfortable, and also people do not have marital relations. We can also see people sitting on the floor or on small benches. This is a sign of mourning in Judaism. When a person loses a close family member or a loved one, one of the customs that is observed for a week is precisely to sit on the floor or in very low places. People are here in mourning for this day, for the Temple of Jerusalem, crying in the same way as if someone from their own family had passed away. Imagine learning a new language just by binge watching your favorite series. As someone working with tourists every day in Israel, learning Hebrew was important to me. But the apps I tried felt boring or ineffective. It felt like I was learning textbook Hebrew, not the Hebrew real Israelis actually speak. Then I discovered Lingopie, the Netflix of language learning. After work, I usually watch TV, So being able to learn a new language while doing something I already enjoy feels incredibly easy and natural. So now I just watch Israeli TV series and learn at the same time. I can tap on any word I don't know and instantly get a translation with context. Plus, it's got tools built in like flashcards, so you can practice later to better learn the words, not just by reading them the first time, but also by taking notes and even fun quizzes. With Lingopai's double subtitle feature, I've started to pick up more words like manishma. Now I can put sentences together, tell a joke in Hebrew, and make Israelis look at me in surprise and ask, "Wait, are you Israeli?" Lingopai offers 13 plus languages like Spanish, French, Italian, Chinese, and more. If you also want to learn a language in a way that feels real and not boring, try Lingopai today. And since you are coming through my channel, you can get 55% off yearly plan and 7 days free trial. Just scan the QR code or click the link below to start learning today. And let me know in the comments how it's going for you. Israel teaches me every day that history lives through language, and now I can finally speak it. We just left the women's side, but I also want you to see what's happening on the men's side in the men's section, because the Wailing Wall is divided between men and women. And for that, we have the help of Mochi, our cameraman. So I'm going to hand the camera over to him. I'll keep the microphone, but he's going to film the men's side for us. We see here the men reading and reciting the Book of Lamentations, which is one of the books of the Bible and was written by the prophet Jeremiah after the destruction of Solomon's temple. And we are also hearing people singing psalms. For the sake of the house of the Lord, our God, I will seek your good. This is a profound psalm that speaks of the temple and asks for the well-being and peace of Jerusalem. And now we will also recite part of the Book of Lamentations. In the days of her affliction and her bewilderment, Jerusalem remembers all the treasures that belonged to her in days gone by. When her people fell into the hands of the enemy, no one came to help her. Her enemies looked at her and mocked her downfall. Don't you feel moved? All of you who passed by here, look around and see if there is any suffering greater than what was imposed on me, that the Lord brought upon me on the day his anger was kindled, and that's why I cry. Tears flood my eyes. No one is around to comfort me. There's no one to restore my spirits. My children are helpless because the enemy has prevailed. Zion stretches out her hands, but there is no one to comfort her. We can see that with every passing minute, more and more people are arriving here. But why did everyone decide to come to the Wailing Wall on such a tragic date? Because two of the greatest calamities, the biggest disasters that happened on Tisha B'Av, are precisely the destruction of the first and second temples of Jerusalem. And the Wailing Wall, which is right here in front of me, is an original surviving part of the temple complex. It was the outer wall, and of the 4 outer walls that existed, 3 of them still exist to this day and remain visible. But why does everyone specifically choose this wall? the Wailing Wall, or its correct name, the Western Wall, because this is the wall closest to the Holy of Holies, where the Holy of Holies was located, where the Ark of the Covenant was kept, where the presence of God was, and where Abraham almost sacrificed his son Isaac. However, I have something to tell you. The Wailing Wall is not the closest point we can get to the Holy of Holies. There is a place where we can get even closer to it, but it's not very well known. And now I want to take you to see this secret part of the Wailing Wall. And also talk about the connection between the fulfillment of biblical prophecies and everything we are seeing and experiencing today. Come with me. This date marks the exact day of the fulfillment of God's word. Literally the day when several biblical prophecies were fulfilled. We can start, for example, with Jeremiah, the great prophet who lived here in Jerusalem. And several times he prophesied the complete destruction of Jerusalem and its temple. He even compares this destruction to the destruction of Shiloh. Shiloh was the original capital of the people of Israel, where the tabernacle remained for centuries. And just as Shiloh was destroyed, the tabernacle was also destroyed. And it even fell into oblivion. And he says the prophet speaks the words of God and says that the same would happen to Jerusalem. The Babylonians came and did what Jerusalem believed was impossible. They destroyed the city and its temple. And the destruction of the second temple was also prophesied. Yet another prophecy fulfilled on this very date. But it doesn't end there. Because after the great destruction caused by the Romans, it took a few years, even a few decades, for the people to be able to rebuild themselves. So once again, the people of Israel fight against the Romans with the goal of expelling them to gain their independence and rebuild the third temple. However, this rebellion, called the Bar Kokhba rebellion, was also crushed by the Romans. And the great massacre that happened during this rebellion, the end of the Bar Kokhba rebellion, happened exactly on the 9th day of the month of Av. And it doesn't end there, because on the following 9th of Av, exactly 1 year later, yet another biblical prophecy is fulfilled concerning the Temple Mount. A prophecy that had been made centuries earlier by the prophet Micah. Therefore, because of you, Zion will be plowed like a field, and Jerusalem will become a heap of ruins, and the Temple Mount will become a hill overgrown with weeds. And this was exactly fulfilled on the 9th day of the month of Av, when the Roman governor of Judea, Quintus Tineius Rufus, orders the Temple Mount and its surroundings to be plowed, just as Micah had prophesied centuries earlier that Zion would be plowed. And Zion is another name for Jerusalem. But they are not going to plow the city to start an agricultural project here. Instead, this was something very symbolic, because they were plowing the city to rebuild it. This was a way to erase everything that existed before in order to start the reconstruction. But not the reconstruction that the people of Israel dreamed of and still dream of to this day, which includes the rebuilding of Jerusalem and the reconstruction of the third temple. I don't know if you've seen the flags that are being displayed. Many of them are flags bearing the symbol of the third temple of Jerusalem. But for the Romans, they were not rebuilding Jerusalem. Instead, the Romans built over the ruins of Jerusalem where the holy city once stood. They built a pagan city in its place and called it Aelia Capitolina. On the Temple Mount, they built a temple in honor of Jupiter. And they also build here in Jerusalem a temple for Aphrodite and also fill the city with idolatrous images of pagan images. We saw how this day, Tisha B'Av, is a day when the word of God is fulfilled, but through some of its most terrible prophecies. Some of them left scars and wounds on the people of Israel until today, and some whose effects we still feel to this day, like the absence of the temple in Jerusalem. The temple has not been rebuilt to this day, but on this day when we remember the destruction of the temple, we also see many people praying and asking for the construction of the third temple. And I know this is a subject that you could even say is a bit controversial, and that's why I want to make it very clear what's happening regarding the third temple. There is a very big project surrounding the third temple. Its utensils are already prepared. The floor plan, we already have a lot prepared for the third temple. However, the construction of the building itself on the Temple Mount has not started yet, and there is no date for it to begin. And that's why today we came here to pray. We prayed on the outside of the Temple Mount, which is the Wailing Wall, and that includes its secret part, which we are going to visit now. We haven't reached our final destination yet. But here along the way, we can see a crowd praying in front of a green door. This is one of the entrance gates to the Temple Mount. Jews and Christians are not allowed to enter through it. But if we could, what we would see is that just a few meters from here was the place where the Holy of Holies used to be. Passing through this small tunnel, we arrive at a place called the Little Western Wall. This is a continuation of the outer wall of the temple, but much closer to the original location of the Holy of Holies. This means that this wall, geographically and biblically speaking, is even more important than where we were before. But despite that, it is very little known, and whenever I come here, there is almost no one, and sometimes there is actually no one at all. And today, for the first time, I am seeing it this way, full of people praying. We've already said that the people are literally speaking, reciting, and singing the Book of Lamentations. The people of Israel are mourning. But if we look closely at these 5 poems that make up the Book of Lamentations, we see that there are three different parts. One part is literally the lament for the destruction of Judah, Jerusalem, and the temple. Then there is a second part, and a part that is perhaps the most difficult for us, which is to talk about why this destruction happened. In this part, it talks about the sins of the people of Israel that brought about this great wrath of God and this punishment. But the third part, and for me, the one I connect with most in everything we are experiencing today, is the third part, which talks about a future restoration. The text of Lamentations does not end with the people's lament, but rather with hope, with the hope that God will fulfill His word, and also the prophecies of restoration. In Jerusalem today, I can see and feel these three parts of the biblical text. We literally see people crying and mourning for all the tragedies of the past. We can also see that this is also very much a night devoted to study. And that also includes learning from our mistakes, because the people of Israel are not and have never been a perfect people. The people sinned, but the people, even in the most difficult moments, did not abandon God. And seeing people, even after 2,000 years, reading the same texts, praying the same prayers with full faith in God, is something that shows how we are making amends for the past. But I can also see hope and restoration. A restoration that has already begun. It is not complete, but it has already begun. In 1948, Israel manages to declare its independence after almost 2,000 years of exile. I mean, the exile that began, the last exile that began during the Roman period, it lasted almost 2,000 years. And the people managed to return to their land as it was written in the prophecies. They returned from the four corners of the world. And to declare their independence, to be once again a free people in their land, this defies all human logic. But the people of Israel, who have not forgotten their history, their past, and their God, are here again. So yes, today is a day of lamentation and pain, and it will continue to be so forever. But when we read Lamentations, we also need to remember the verses of hope and restoration and everything that God will still do for us and for the whole world. I hope you enjoyed today's video, despite the difficult topics and subjects we talked about. If you liked it and want to support the channel, don't forget to leave a like and share this video so that everyone can see what really happens here in Jerusalem. And I'll see you next time.